Hey there drone fans, Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's video, I'd like to show you a fun little drone from our friends at Holystone, the HS430. Now on the channel, I tend to review a lot of very high-end drones that are used for commercial applications like real estate photography, surveying, or land management, and those drones work great if you're doing those kind of commercial applications. But I've had a lot of viewers ask me lately, Rick, can you start reviewing some drones that are less expensive? Because we're not in the hobby yet, we're not willing to drop hundreds of dollars on a drone, but we'd like to see if the hobby is right for us. So we're looking for a drone that's not terribly expensive, but still has the ability to sort of give us a feel for what the hobby's like, and then we can tell if we're going to want to upgrade to a more expensive drone. If we really fall in love with the hobby, maybe it makes sense for us to upgrade to a more sophisticated drone. So I thought about it and I said, you know what, I haven't really reviewed a lot of the hobby level drones because quite honestly, in years past, most of the drones in that category, not this one, but drones in that category tended to basically have 4 motors and some propellers, but if you spun them up, they'd immediately head for a wall or a lamp and crash. And honestly, 10 minutes after you started flying the drone, it would end up in a drawer someplace and you wouldn't fly it again. They were just not that sophisticated. But honestly, as with all technology, as the higher end market develops and matures, a lot of that technology makes its way down to the less expensive technology products like this one. So what you've got now are hobby drones like this that have really good stability in the air. It's got a really decent camera on it. It'll record 1080p video. The batteries allow you to fly about 11 to 12 minutes each, which is plenty of time up in the air. You have complete control over Wi-Fi of the drone. So what you're getting here is a drone that's reasonably priced, and it's got a lot of those sophisticated features shrunk down into a tiny little drone like this. I mean, look at this drone. This guy is adorable. So I think this category has really matured on pace with what the larger, more commercial drones have matured. So you've got really high-tech stuff now in the hobby space. So what I thought I'd do is spend some time, maybe one a week or one every couple of weeks. I'll review a smaller drone like this that's less expensive for those viewers out there that are looking to get into the hobby and want to have a drone they can fly in the house until they get really good. Maybe take it outside when there's a little bit of wind, but not a big wind, obviously, because it's small. But it'll give you a chance to hone your stick skills on the remote controller. And if you fall in love with the hobby like I have, you can always upgrade to something a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more expensive. So I'm going to start with the HS430 because we're friends with Holystone. They make a wide range of products. Starting here, I've got a few other drones that I'll be reviewing of theirs as well. But I think they're a company that really understands what you need as a flyer, and they include all of that in the kit. So the way I'd like to do this clip is I'll start off with an unboxing just to show you everything that's included with this kit, because this is a fairly inexpensive drone, but there's a lot of stuff in the kit that, quite honestly, they did need to include at the price point they're selling this drone. So I think they've done a great job including everything you need to fly this drone right out of the box. And then I'll take a closer look at the drone because there's a few things you need to know about how you insert the batteries, how you power up the drone, how you bind the drone, all the things you'll want to know in order to fly the drone correctly. And then I'll fly it a little bit and show you how stable it is. And I'll try and point out a few things that I really like about this HS430 that you can use to compare it to other drones you might be considering. So let's get started with the unboxing. There's a lot of stuff inside the box. So when you pop open the box, you'll be amazed at how well it's packed inside the box. So you'll find the drone. Now again, with the drone, it's a foldable drone. So I'm laughing because, you know, I fly a lot of bigger drones that are foldable drones, and this looks like a bigger drone that they basically stuck into a shrink machine to make it small enough to fit in your hand. So it's really a pocket-sized drone that flies in most cases like a bigger drone, unless there's a gigantic wind, and then you're gonna be out of luck. But if you fly it in the house, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. All right, so you get the drone. You get 3 batteries. Now these batteries are 730 milliampere hours, and you're gonna get between 11 and 15 minutes of flight time out of each battery. Now indoors you'll get better flight because you're not buffing the wind, you're not outside fighting all of that. So in the house it'll fly a little bit longer, but in the old days, if you got 4 or 5 minutes out of a battery, that was, and when I say the old days, a couple of years ago, that was a big deal. So getting a solid 11 minutes, 12 minutes out of a battery is a really nice thing. So you've got 3 batteries included with the kit. A lot of other drones out there maybe give you a battery, you fly it for 6 minutes, you got to go charge the battery, fly it again for 6 minutes, you're going to get frustrated. With this, having 3 batteries, I can keep this thing in the air for half an hour, maybe 40 minutes if I'm flying in the house. So that's pretty cool. You get a charging cable. Now this is pretty clever. It's a USB-A on this end, and it's got a micro USB on this end, which plugs into the battery. And I'll show you that when I do the closer look. But essentially, when you plug this into any USB wall charger or even a computer port, if you've got a USB port on your computer, this will turn red, letting you know the battery needs to be charged. As it charges the battery, it'll eventually turn green, and that way you know the battery's fully charged. So you can take that off and put it on the next battery. They include a really nice remote controller. I can't get over this. I mean, it's small, certainly not as big as some of the larger remote controllers, but it's still very comfortable in your hands. All the buttons are right where you need them. The joysticks feel good. It's got plenty of expansion here for your phone if you want to put your phone in there. Now, you can fly it without your phone attached. The only reason you'd really want your phone is to run the application to record video and pictures if you want from the drone, because it's got a 1080p camera in it. You can fly the drone having this without the phone in there, and you'll just fly it around and have a lot of fun in the house. But if you want to take pictures, you can certainly instigate the pictures and the video from the controller, but if you have your phone connected, you can actually see what the drone is saying. All right, in addition to that, they include prop guards. Now, I thought that was a really nice touch. Didn't need to include the prop guards, but they put prop guards in the kit, and these basically pop in on the end of the props just like this, and they'll provide basic prop guard protection. So if you're flying it in the house, or your son or daughter's flying it in the house, and they run into a lamp, it's going to bounce off the lamp. It's not going to tear the lamp to shreds, which is a good thing. I like that. Mom likes that, so we're in good shape. They also include a spare set of propellers. Again, you're not going to be banging into anything really hard, but if you nick a propeller or break a propeller, there's 2 propellers in there. Make sure when you change those propellers, they're labeled A and B. And the way a drone works, if you're not familiar with how flight takes place on a drone, is that the propellers that are diagonally across from each other spin in the same direction. So these 2 spin in one direction, these 2 spin in the other direction, and that keeps the drone stable in the air. And they're labeled A and B. So when you put the propellers on, make sure you change an A for an A and a B for a B. And I'll admit something here that's kind of embarrassing, but when I started flying drones, I didn't know that. And I had a really old drone that we cracked a propeller on. My son and I were outside, and I said, go inside and get another propeller. He brought a set of propellers out. I didn't pay attention to it. I swapped the propeller with the wrong one, and every time we started the drone, it would do this, boom, and flip right on its back. So it took us about half an hour to figure out, oh, there's different propellers. Maybe we should have read the manual. Anyway, so be aware of that. They include a screwdriver, which again is a nice touch because they're tiny little screws. Even though you might have a screwdriver you can use, it's great to include the screwdriver. And this is what I mean about this company, Holystone. They're thinking about how you're going to use the drone. They didn't have to put that in there. I know it didn't cost them a lot, but that is such a convenience to have that in the kit. In addition to that, there's a caution card about the batteries, because these are LiPo batteries, so you have to be careful with the batteries. You don't want to charge them when they're too hot. You don't want to store them in too hot an environment. You want to be careful. You don't want to throw them out with your trash. Go to your big box store if you have to recycle them, if they're bad, and drop them off at the big box store, because LiPo batteries, it's a rare thing, but LiPo batteries have the tendency, if they're damaged or abused, that they can spontaneously combust. So they're small, they look safe and all, and they are plenty safe, but if you puncture that or you throw it out with your garbage and it gets punctured, you might have a little trash burn fire right there. In addition to that, you get a full instruction manual. This manual is massive. There's every language you can imagine is in there, and they explain everything you possibly want to know about this drone. I recommend you read that, especially if you're new to flying drones, because there's a lot of good information in there about how to bind the drone to the controller, how you set the gyros, how you calibrate the drone, all the things you're going to want to know. And I know it's a boring exercise to read through a manual. I don't like doing it either, but you're spending a good bit of money on the drone, so read the manual to get the best value out of it. All right, so the drone itself basically will fly really well. It's got very good stability in it. If you're in the house, it's going to be rock solid. If you go outside, it'll fight the wind a little bit, but if it's a really strong wind, it's a slave to the wind. There's no way around it. Those motors can't possibly keep up with a stiff wind. They're brushless motors. They're not gear driven. Like a lot of the smaller drones have gear driven motors, which the minute you touch something with those other drones with the gears, they're going to strip a tooth, and that's the end of the drone. These are actually brushless motors, and the props are mounted right on the motors. That's a big advantage. That's something that you didn't find in hobby drones of this size in years gone by. First advantage. Second advantage is we've got a Wi-Fi signal between the drone and the controller, which is pretty strong. I was surprised at how far away I could fly the drone. Now, I'm not saying fly this thing thousands of feet away, because if you fly it thousands of feet away, it doesn't have a return to home function built in, which means if it breaks signal from the controller, there's no telling what the drone's going to do. So definitely keep it in your backyard. Keep it close. I wouldn't go much 100 feet, 200 feet away, and that's plenty if you're just learning how to fly. So you've got a Wi-Fi connection between the two, but it does FPV back from the camera and the drone to your phone. So if you put your phone in here and you connect to the controller through Wi-Fi, you'll actually get a first-person view of the camera, which can be pretty amazing when you think of the price of the drone and your kids are starting to fly and they're watching exactly what the drone can see out there. It's a very thrilling experience. In addition to that, You've also got 3 batteries, like I'd mentioned before. They're lithium polymer batteries. They'll give you about 11 to 12 minutes of flight time out of those. The camera in it is pretty decent. I was surprised at the quality of the camera because a lot of these drones will claim to be able to record 720p or 1080p. And okay, that's a standard for the resolution and the frame rate, but this is 1080p with incredibly good color saturation. I was shocked at how good the quality of the video was coming out of that camera. Now, I know you're buying this to have a lot of fun flying, but having a really good camera inside the drone allows you to take those selfies with you and the kids or you and the family if you're at a picnic. Put the drone up, take a selfie from 15 feet in the air. It just gives you a whole different perspective. And people are going to wonder how you did that when you post it up there in your TikTok channel or Instagram. So pretty cool drone. Now, if you hang tight, what I'm going to do next is take a closer look at all these things, and I'll take it and fly it a little bit too to show you how it handles. But I'll be honest, I'm going to start reviewing a lot of these hobby quality drones. And this one was the first one that I actually unboxed because they've been after me for a while to start testing some of their drones. And I finally said, okay, send me a couple. And I've unboxed this one first. First of all, I had a giggle when I took it out of the box because it's absolutely adorable. I've said that before, but man, it's a cool little drone. But second, when I put it up in the air, I fully expected this drone to start drifting towards a wall and I'd have to wrestle it back and I'd have to fight with it. I put it up and went straight up. It stayed where I left it. It flew pretty well inside the house. I mean, it obeyed my commands immediately, and it took pretty good video. So I was pretty impressed by it. So I don't think you can go wrong with this particular drone. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll take a closer look next. I'll fly it a little bit, and I'll point out a couple of things that I like about it and I think really separate it from other drones you might be considering. So inside the kit, you'll find the remote controller, the drone. You'll find 3 of these batteries. They're 730 milliampere hours each, and a charging cable. You'll also find a set of replacement propellers, prop guards, and a screwdriver you can use to change the propellers. Let's take a look at the battery first. So on the bottom, right where it plugs into the drone, it's hard to see it, but right there is a micro USB connection. And essentially what you'll do is plug this end into any standard USB wall charger, and you can plug the other end, which is a micro USB connection, directly in here, and then plug this into your USB charger. This will give you a red light when you first connect it, and as it charges it, that'll turn green. That way you know the battery is fully charged. It took me a while to find that connection. Don't use a standard USB cable. Always use this because there's some intelligence inside the battery, and it communicates with this charger, so it's important you use this charger with the batteries. All right, and then the battery slides into the back of the drone right there. You'll put it in this way, slide it down, you'll hear it click in. Now the drone does fold up. You can actually fold it up to a smaller size like I showed you before. These fold in, and the other ones will fold behind them like this. And you'll feel these, they're not actually spring-loaded, but there's a bit of tension there, and when you put it all the way out, you'll feel it sort of pop into its open position. So just be gentle when you're folding them out because, again, it's a small drone. Power button's on the bottom right there. To turn it on, you'll hold the power button in for a couple of seconds. If you want to remove the battery, you'll squeeze here and pull it back out the back. That's pretty much it for the drone. Now, as far as the propellers go, I'd mentioned before, there's 2 propellers, A and B. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the B propeller. It's right here, written B. The other one has A on it. If you look at the drone, these are the B propellers right here, and these are the A propellers. So when you change the prop out, make sure you match them up with which leg it's on. And to change them, they include the screwdriver. There's one screw right in the middle. You take that screw out, put the new prop on, tighten up the screw. That's how you'll attach them. They also include prop guards. There are 4 of these in the kit, and these basically fit into these slots on the end. You'll push them in like this, they'll click, and then 4 of those on the outside gives you some protection if you're going to bounce off things. Obviously, if you come in from here, it's going to hit the prop, but this is going to give you some level of protection, and it actually notches into that little slot right there, so you can't just yank them back out. To get these off, you'll push down on that tab like this, then you can pull them out directly on the end. They're really in there pretty good, and that's that. Okay, so that's the drone. Now the controller uses 3 AA batteries in the bottom, AAA batteries in the back. Put 3 batteries in there, you're good to go. You can open this up right here and then insert your phone in the top. It won't handle gigantic phones or tablets, but it'll handle most of the phones on the market today. This is the power button. You can hold that for a couple of seconds. It turns the drone on. There are 2 speeds for the drone, low and high. My suggestion, my strong suggestion, is if you're flying in the house, fly it on low speed until you get very, very comfortable with it, because the high speed, it's going to whip around like crazy and you're going to knock something over. You don't want to do that. So once you turn the drone on, it'll let you know how much power is in your batteries. 4 lights there, each of those are 25%. That'll flash initially until you bind it to the drone. Unlike some of the larger, more sophisticated drones, these smaller hobby drones don't maintain the binding once you power it off. So every time you power up the drone and power up the controller, you'll need to bind the two just so they know each other exists and you can control it. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. In addition to that, there's a few other buttons. Up here is a photo video button. If you tap it, it'll take a photo. If you hold it, it'll take a video. Down here is the headless and trim button. So if you want to go to headless mode, just tap it. If you want to trim the drone, hold it down for a couple of seconds and that'll trim the drone. And normally these fly pretty well as long as you do the gyro adjustment before you take off. But what trim does is sort of settle down the drone, because if it's drifting in one direction when it's flying, if you hold this down to trim it, it'll actually stop that drifting and hold it in position. In addition to that, there's a couple of tricks you can do from here. There's a quick spin and there's a long spin right there. So if you want the drone to spin around like crazy or spin in a big loop, you can hit that and it'll make the drone do those tricks. That's kind of fun to do. Then there's also a takeoff and landing button right here. It's a little bit dangerous, and I wasn't crazy about the fact that they combined a couple functions there, but essentially once you start up the drone, hit that button, it'll take off for you. You can also toss it in the air and have it take off, or you can just do what you normally do with a drone and go up on the joystick and it'll take off. Where I'm a little concerned is the landing button is right there, but if you hold that button for too long, that's like an emergency shut off for the drone. So if you hold it too long and the drone is up in the air pretty far, it'll shut off all four motors and the drone will drop like a brick. So don't hold that, not a brick, but a light brick, but don't hold that too long. So use it for takeoff and landing, or what I like to suggest is learn how to take off and land just like a regular pilot, and I'll show you how to do that now. So if you turn on the drone by holding this button, all right, drone's on and it's blinking. That means it's not bound. Let me turn on the controller. Controller's blinking as well. Now the way you'll bind these two is on this joystick, go up and down like that. These are now on solid. That's now on solid, so you're bound. Now before you take off, put the drone down on a level surface and you'll want to recalibrate the gyros. And to do that, you'll pull both the joysticks down to the right, so just like this. And you'll hear that beep. That means the drone now knows what level is. So it understands that it's at a level position. It'll maintain that position in the air. Now to take off, you'll have to start the props. I'll do that really quickly. And you'll either, you'll start them by pulling this down to the center on both of the joysticks, just like this. And the props start up. Now to take off, you can use this button. Actually, let me turn the props off. Here's how you turn the props off. Same thing, down into the center. When those are spinning, if I tap that button, it'll actually take off on me, but I don't want it to do that because I'm here in the shop and I got a lot of lights and things up. But you can also take off just by pushing this joystick up, which will raise the drone up in the air, and then you can start flying. So pretty straightforward. When you're done flying for the day, just hit this button. That'll turn off the remote. Hit the button on the bottom here. That'll turn off the drone. Now, one other thing I want to caution you about, you're going to want to fly through a bunch of batteries. I promise you, once you start flying this thing, you're going to have so much fun. You're going to want to fly all 3 batteries. Don't make the mistake of having the drone be on like this and yanking the battery with that drone on. Always turn the drone off like this first, and then change the battery and then turn it back on. It's just one of those things where if you're yanking a battery out of a drone that's drinking electrons from that battery, you can cause some issues with the electronics inside. It's never a good idea to yank a battery out of something that's powered up because there's a transient voltage that takes place. I know I'm getting complicated, but the rule of thumb is don't yank a battery out of a product that's working, and don't jam a battery back into it that's powered up. The last thing I didn't mention was there is a pivot available on the 1080p camera in the front. There is no mechanical gimbal in there, so you can't actually move that gimbal up and down from the controller, but you can position it. So if you're flying, you might want to have it down at a bit of an angle like that, just to capture more of the ground you're flying over. But you can, change it as you need to. If you want to get a straight down view, put it there or put it forward, whatever you want. But the one thing I do want to mention as well, and I think it's clever and interesting, most of the controllers that look like this for the larger drones have a gimbal control on them right here that allows you to vary the position of that gimbal. And they've actually taken the extra step of modifying the mold to look like they've added a knob here to vary the angle of the gimbal, but this doesn't do anything. It's actually just stuck there. So it's cosmetic, it's not functional, but I think, again, it's a nice touch because Holy Stone's looking at other drones thinking, all right, let's make it look like another drone. So let's put that little knob on there. But when I first got it, I'm like, wow, is that knob broken? It's not moving. Then I realized there is no mechanical gimbal on the drone. But don't let that dissuade you. It's a phenomenal drone for the price. And I'm telling you, you're going to have so much fun with this guy when you're flying it. So stay tuned, and I'll put it up in the air and give you some footage. Before you start any flight, you'll want to calibrate the gyros. And to do that, put the drone on a level surface, then pull both of the joysticks down and to the right. hold them there till you hear that beep, and now the drone knows that that's a level position, so it helps it stay stable in the air. Now to take off, you'll pull both joysticks down into the center. That'll spin up the motors. Then you can actually lift off the platform with that. Now notice how stable that is in the air. I mean, it's just staying right where I left it. It's drifting a tiny bit, but it's not terrible. But I like the fact that it's so responsive. Like the minute I hit the joystick, it starts moving. It doesn't hesitate a second. Definitely stays where I leave it in the air, like I'd mentioned. Now, if you're outside in the wind, you're going to, well, that was pretty close. If you're outside in the wind, it's going to be a little bit trickier than you're flying in the house, obviously. Now, if I'm going to hit the trim button, let's see what happens here. Let me try and trim it. When I hit that trim button, look how that settled down. It's not drifting left or right anymore. I'm in complete control of it. And it's really just an incredibly fun drone to fly in the house. You get 13 minutes of stick time out of every battery. And I think as a flyer, this is definitely going to help you improve your skills on the joystick. So when you graduate to a larger drone or you're ready to fly outside again and you're buffeting a wind, you've got a lot more control and a lot better flyer because of it. Let's see if I can land it here. Wow, pretty good. Anyway, that's an indoor flight. I hope that closer look and short demonstration was helpful. I can't tell you how close I was to crashing into that shelf there in the game room, so I obviously need a little more practice with this guy, but I think it's incredibly stable for a small drone like this because years gone by, if you had a drone like this, you would spend the first 10 minutes just trying to get it stable in the air. I think this one did a great job of kind of holding its position. Now, it was too windy to actually fly it outside, but I did take it out for a couple of seconds just to snap a few pictures to show you the quality of what the camera can capture. On a calm day, you can definitely fly it out there and get some really good video as well. And I think it's a good value. I mean, you're not spending a lot of money for this drone. It'll give you something you can fly in these upcoming winter months when there's snow outside, you've got inclement weather. It's a good way to keep your stick skills sharp. And it's a whole lot of fun for the family. It's just a great way to pass an afternoon. So if you're enjoying these kind of clips, I've kind of avoided doing hobby drone reviews before, and I don't know why, but if you like this type of review and you're interested in these type of drones, I probably have a half a dozen more drones over there on the bench that I can review on the channel. So drop your comments below. Let me know if you want to see more of these videos. You want me to focus on the higher end drones. I'm still going to do a lot of high-tech reviews as well in the channel because I just love technology. You guys know that. Anything I can play with that runs on electrons is something I want to talk about. So a lot more drone reviews coming and a lot of other high-tech reviews as well. Anyway, if you're interested in this one, I do have a link below where you can go check it out on Amazon. I think it's a good drone. You know, for what you're paying, I think you're getting a really good value. And they include a ton of stuff in the kit, so maybe it's one you want to take a look at. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy flying.